Right now, very quickly, I'd like to call upon the Principal Secretary, State Department of Devolution in the Ministry of Devolution and Planning. Please put your hands together for Mr. Maker.
I am the PS in the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, State Department of Planning. So let me first and foremost thank the CARA for organizing this meeting. For many years, I've been passing through off the Ngong Road where the offices are, but I didn't know what exactly they are doing. So today is a privilege and honor to come and make my remarks today. So thank you so much. Briefly, I'm going to skip some of the issues because of time. Article 10 of the Constitution identifies public participation as a national value and principles of governance. Article 174, which articulates the objects of devolution, provides for the participation of public in the exercise of the powers of state and the decision-making process. Article 232 guarantees the involvement of people in the process of policy making and public service awareness. And then Article 196(1) requires county assemblies to facilitate the public participation and involvement in the legislative and other businesses of the assembly and its committees. Schedule 4 to the Constitution assigns county governments the role of ensuring and coordinating the participation of communities in governance at the local level. Section 3 of the County Government Act 2012 provides for public participation in the conduct of the activities of the county assemblies, while Section 87 of the same Act provides for the principles of citizen partnership in county government affairs. Section 98 of the County Government Act provides the principles of civic education. Now, as a historical perspective, contrary to the popular belief, public participation, contrary to the popular belief, public engagement of government and its influence on policy has always been strong in Kenya. And there are a few examples which we may give. One, we have the growth of the women table banking activity popularly. It's not only women nowadays, even men are there. We have the chamas, which is very popular, was a response to the policy failure on the financial sectors. You remember, you'll agree with me that those times when we didn't have financial institutions addressing this issue of access to financial services by the lowly endowed people in the community. Before now, these other financial institutions, and for example, Equity and Family came in to address this issue. Another example was the protest by women against the proliferation of the illicit brew in parts of this country, which led to the policy intervention aimed at better regulation of production, distribution, and consumption of alcoholic beverages. With respect to the engagement of citizens by the government, before 2010, public participation was administrative and largely operationalized through what was known as the top-down approach, which was like a barasa. I think this was like a colonial kind of, whereby the top-down approach, where if you want something as a government official or as a leader, you go down, you implement issues without even consulting the community. So it was top-down approach. The meeting were largely inform citizens on what government had planned to implement. So it was the government who was planning, not the public participating. This approach was extensively used by civil society organizations, discussed and obtained buy-in for services by the communities. The focus was on provision of information rather than the involvement of the communities in decision making, unlike what is happening now. The challenges we have, despite the foregoing, the practice and the application of civic education and public participation is faced with challenges. One, there is lack of communication, common understanding of what really constitutes public participation and methods, process, and the content to ensure effective public engagement. So this is one of the challenges which we are addressing. In civic education, the sheer breadth and the depth of the content with regard to rights, responsibilities, as well as intellectual and participatory skills required to be imparted has not quite been appreciated. The resulting approach to civic education has been one often linked and limited to voter education around election period. Worse is the interpretation of civil rights, and the responsibility have been left open and susceptible to use for radicalization of the youth. There is a coordinated approach to provision of civic education with state and non-state actors operating without common civic education curriculum. So as a ministry, what we are doing is to see how we can come together, and I'm happy such a forum has been organized so that we can see areas where we can synergize with the different stakeholders. Milestones to address these challenges. The Ministry of Devolution and Planning embarked on the process of develop national norms and standards to ensure uniformity in delivery of civic education and engagement in public participation through, one, development of policy working papers on social accountability, two, capacity needs assessment to establish levels of understanding of the civic education and public participation, three, these studies inform the need to develop standardized civic education curriculum and trainers manual on the handbook. 4, the public participation guidelines support on the implementation of the legislation already enacted at the national and the county levels. Prospects, civic education and public participation are two-sided of the same coin. They are closely related, but are not in the same thing. If citizens are to exercise their rights and discharge their responsibilities as members of self-governing communities, they not only need to acquire body knowledge, they also need to acquire relevant intellectual and participatory skills. And it's important we engage further so that we can assure and ensure that this is achieved. Therefore, civic education in a democratic society most assuredly needs to be concerned with promoting understanding of ideals of democracy and reasoned commitment to the values and the principles of democracy. Democracy is not utopian, and citizens need to understand that lest they become cynical, apathetic, or simply withdraw from political life when their unrealistic expectations are not met. You know, many times their expectations of the citizens may not be met, so they withdraw. To obtain effective civic education must be realistic. It must address the central truths about political life. This is true for our country, Kenya, as we seek to nurture our devolved system of governance. The need for concerted efforts to provide civic education cannot be overemphasized. Without civic education, we face the danger of citizens becoming cynical, apathetic, and withdraw from participation in matters of governance, and therefore endangering our democracy and default system of governance. In adopting the Constitution 2010 or implementing Constitution 2010, Kenya wanted a society and government in which human rights are respected. 2, the individual's dignity and worth are acknowledged. The rule of law is observed. People willingly fulfill their responsibilities, and the common good is the concern of all. Making that kind of society and the kind of the government a reality is the most important challenge Kenyans face, and the most important work we could undertake as a team. And this is why public participation will remain an important exercise in our undertakings. So as a Ministry of Devolution, I think we are committed to this. We are committed to partnering with all the stakeholders who are engaged in public participation activities, those who are engaged in civic education. Let's put our resources together, let's put our minds together so that we can achieve our goal in ensuring that we have public participation achieved, civic education achieved in coordinated and organized manner. So, and as a ministry, we are playing a key role in ensuring that this is achieved. So let me also take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to our office. We are in Telposta Tower, 6th floor. That's where my office is, and that's where my colleagues are. So welcome. We have departments on civic education and many other departments which we are having there. So out of this kind of interaction, you may interact with us again in our offices. Feel free to invite us in your meetings. We will participate. This is a very important exercise for us as a ministry, and that's why I took my time as a PS. I didn't want to delegate, so I wanted to be here so that we can hear from you people, from the horse's mouth. So we will be engaging you in other capacities. So thank you so much. God bless you. Asanteni sana. Mungu awabariki.